This, a conference that's going to wrap up almost 3 years of international collaboration. Sound of Cities is an EU project financed by the Creative Europe. And today we're going to dig into what the project is and also talk about a lot of different issues related to the project. We are here at ABF Huset in Stockholm, Sweden. But we're also live streaming digitally, so we're happy to have you as an audience wherever you are in the world, but also here at the house. So today it's going to be 3 different talks. The first talk is going to be about what the project is. We're going to talk about our experiences, our challenges, and a lot of different stuff. And then we're going to have 2 other talks, which the first one is about international cooperation and why it is important or maybe not important. And the last we're going to have a talk about urban art and whether it's relevant today and in what aspects. But first, as I said, we're going to dig into this project and talk about what has happened, what we've learned, and so on. And to help me with this is experts in the area. It's actually people who have been involved in the project in different ways. So we're going to start with everyone each talking about their role and what they have participated to the project and different aspects. And then we're going to talk in a more broadly perspective about reflect on each other's presentations and so on. So first of all, I would just like you to introduce yourselves so we know who is here, and then we're gonna give the word to each one of you. But maybe first you, Laurent, would you like to introduce yourself shortly? Maybe your name and organization and where you're from.
Hi, I am Laurent Dewilde. I'm from Belgium. I am working for Impact. Impact is a small NGO, and we are doing projects about transitions in neighborhoods, transitions in the energy. We are working. We have a lot of experience in community building, but also in business, social business development, and creative cities.
Thank you. Remy, would you like to continue?
Thank you. Yes, my name is Remy Kroese. Together with my partner Marlies Vermeulen, we run a small mapping practice, you could say, called Deer Hunter. We make maps, and we do that by practicing what we call cartopology, which combines cartography, as you could say, so making maps, with anthropological ethnographic methods, so radically staying on site, living on site, to be mapped location for mostly months of time, and with that deeply engaging with the neighborhood, with the community, and through that mapping, let's say, the so-called more obvious or hidden aspects or daily routines of a place, also to be added to this project. But we'll talk about that later on.
Yes, thank you. And
Hi, I'm Cumhur Erkut. I work at the Aalborg University in Copenhagen. We're the technical partner in the project, and we hope to bring digital exhibition experience and also after the project lifespan, some sustainable way of documenting the pieces. And I work in the Multisensory Experience Lab, and I deal with sound and music computing. Therefore, I have the best sounding microphone today. Particular technologies that we tried and the lessons that we learned, I'm going to talk about that during my slot.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And from a distance, from Belgium, we have Gino. Hi, are you with us?
Yes, I'm digital with you all there. So I apologize, but due to Corona, it was impossible to come to Stockholm. I would like to attend this meeting. But I'm working in the city of Roeselare, who is lead partner of this project. And there, in a former life, I was a coordinator of the culture policy of Roeselare and director of the library. And I transformed the library to a knowledge center and built a new one. And now I'm a strategic advisor for the city of Roeselare on European projects, power neighborhoods, and smart city.
Directly from the sunny Barcelona.
Sunny Barcelona.
Maybe.
I'm very windy too.
Yeah.
No, Thank you. And as Gino also said, that I wish to be there, but the situation also not possible. So yeah, my name is Irati Irulegi. I'm part of Idensitat team. Idensitat, it's an art and research project based in Barcelona, but we also work around Spain and also internationally. That's my, in this project at least. And we our objective is to experiment the relationship between art and social spaces. So we establish relationships with people, places, and different topics, and then we use collaborative practices to set all the processes in motion. So more or less, this is what we do. We try to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Rati. And last but not least, Luke and Anne. Are you with us? Yeah.
Yes. So, hello everyone. Thanks for having us. My name's Luke Conroy, and I'm an artist originally from Tasmania in Australia.
I'm Anne Fehres. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a visual artist and an audiovisual designer. And together we are an artist studio. And we worked on the project News from Home. We undertook the project News from Home within the project of Sounds of Our Cities.
Everyone, and the technology seems to work good, which is nice. So now we're going to dig into more what is actually this project. And as you can see, there's been a lot of different organizations and people involved in this, and it's been a big project. And but it all started, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, perhaps. And from actually a concept where you and me, Laurent, met in Brussels. Actually, and then it took a lot of different turns, and we made an application, but we didn't get it. And then to make it stronger, we had the cooperation with the city of Roeselare, with Gino, and then finally we got it, which was really nice. So I was maybe thinking that you, Gino, could start and maybe talk a little bit about the background of the project and why the city of Roeselare wanted to be a project leader.
Laurent told us on this project, I think 4 or 5 years ago, because he went to a workshop together with another colleague of me to Sweden. And they thought a lot on developing new projects in a cultural way. And at that moment, I was involved in the development of power areas in Roeselare. We worked on Cumhur, where we would like to build up this neighborhood together with the inhabitants. And Laurent was one of the driving forces there. But also the theme of this project, the combination and the linkages between arts, spatial planning, community building, and the interaction with a new audience was for me the trigger to go full for this project. So we have a first application, and this was rejected, not because we had not enough points on 100, because our score was good, but there were some weak points in the communication. And then I had a discussion with our national contact point. She said, you should rewrite the proposal, work on the communication, and then it will be good. So then we worked together on this new proposal, and we could start in October 2019, before COVID.
How has it been to be the project leader of the project? Has it been going smoothly? Has it been a good injection for the city?
I think for the city, it was a good injection. The way that we realized this was a hard way, because I think there were some, in Rotterdam, we worked on the District of Creativity, and there were some street art projects over there. So we see that when you work on culture products, culture new
doing this advanced digital seminars. So I guess, yeah, it's just the way it is. But let's see now if it works better. Gino, directly from Belgium, are you with us still?
Yes, yes, I'm still with you. Okay.
And,
on the neighborhood, in the neighborhood of Rotterdam, we worked on the power area, the power neighborhood. And we had also prepared together with the inhabitants and the organizations there, kind of a vision on how we would like to develop that neighborhood. And one of these statements there was the launch of the District of Creativity, so that we would work on artistic work, on entrepreneurship. And with Laurent as one of the driving forces of Rotterdam, we had this project. So it was good that we could involve the entrepreneurs as Brewery of Rodenbach, that we could work together with other organizations to realize this project. And I think it gives, based on the new mapping of Deer Hunter, it gives us a nice view on how we can go on with this after the project has ended. Because for me, this project is only the start of a new beginning of Grottegem and not the end of a project. So I think we had a lot of things to remember on that and to go on with that. And as I mentioned earlier, in the local Café Breda, next week they will have a new workshop based on what John told us and showed us. So they go on with that. And that's nice for us, that this is not a project that it's only a project, but that there is a community involved. And we attended to new audiences, because those people who go to the local cafe never goes to a culture activity. And now they are involved in it and they make part of it. So for me, that was a nice way to look how we could combine those things.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, just a brief background is that this project, the main thing is that there's been 2 sound art exhibitions. So one exhibition took place in Roeselare in Belgium, and then another one in Barcelona. And then we had 5 artists in each city that has been working with residencies. And of course, due to COVID, they had to partly do this on a distance, but some of them were available to actually come to the cities. And yeah, so that has been like the main thing. So and then we also have another important aspect of it is a mapping of these cities, which Remy and Deer Hunter did, which he's going to talk more about later. But yeah, thank you, Gino. And I think next person on stage is you, Laurent. Would you like to talk a little bit about your role in the project and what has been your experiences?
Yes, of course. I think Gino said very important things because the project initially was about combining art and neighborhood development and public space. So it started there, and we had the opportunity, I think it's 7 or 8 years ago, to organize a street art festival, an international street art festival. And that was the beginning of thinking about how can we change the look and feel of the neighborhood, and how can we, if we change the look and feel of the neighborhood, how can we develop other things. Gino gave was talking about the district of creativity. That's something that we are in the neighborhood. We are working on it, and we want to give a very important place to entrepreneurship in the neighborhood, because we think that it can help the evolution of the neighborhood. Grottegem is a neighborhood with a lot of challenges, and it is a very nice place to live, because of course I live there, but not only that. No, it's a very nice neighborhood, but it has also some challenges, and we think that with all these initiatives, we can make it better.
Have you seen some concrete changes from this project already, or has it?
Yes, but I think it was difficult, because one of my role in the project was on community building. Yeah. So we had to find a method to engage the neighborhood, the people living in the neighborhood, to engage them in the process, and that was not easy, because of course we were confronted with COVID, and but we had ideas, and we tried to be very creative, but that was not easy. So we developed different ideas from we made a kind of a community radio. So we wanted to the neighborhood has a lot of people has some people who are very busy with music, and there is an important venue in the neighborhood. So we would try to make community radio, but it didn't work, because we were in lockdown at different times, and so that made it difficult. Then we tried to make a kind of to develop an idea and to about a digital museum. It was a very nice exercise to think about that, but it was almost too difficult, and we would need more time. So
maybe that's in the future.
Yes, maybe it's something for the future. Yeah. But it's important to see that with art in the neighborhood you can make things happen, new things happen, and that's important.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Laurent. And now I would like to ask you, Irati, if you could tell us a little bit about your contribution and Idensitat, and maybe a little bit about the exhibition in Barcelona.
Sure. Yeah, as Laurent was saying, for our part was also the challenging thing was the community building part, because that was also very essential in the whole project. But yeah, to start with Idensitat and me as a part of Idensitat team, we had the role of curators in a way. Yeah, we were accompanying all the artists during all the processes. As you mentioned before, with a lot of changes, because at the beginning, the idea was to have the rest, like 5 residencies all together in Roeselare, 5 residencies all together in Barcelona. So during 20 days of, I think it was, and the idea was to work together. And I mean, each of them had to develop their own project, but of course, knowing each other and sharing all their knowledge also and the process. That was like the important, like the point, like starting point for everything, but it couldn't happen like that. So we changed a lot the idea of the residency. Because we had to adapt a lot to each situation. So, for instance, Anna Luke, after they will explain, but they managed to come to Barcelona, have a residency, but it was like a very different residency also. And for the rest of the artists, also like in Barcelona, we had 3 residencies on site, but 2 remotely. So, and in Roeselare was another scenario also, because they had to only, I think, 3 artists went also, but very like for 3 or 4 days. So to have like some ideas for the context, but it was very difficult. So I think, as Laurent also said, like our role, like the partner's role, was very important through all these processes, because we were like the people that it was in between the context and the artist, right? Somehow it was like kind of a like ongoing conversation. I think they were. I mean, I'm very, very surprised. I'm very, very like fascinated with all the art projects, because everyone that was selected, I mean, they did like amazing work, because it was very, very challenging. Like they had to change a lot during all the process, but I think they, in their own way, they managed to respond to all the situation and the objectives also, that it was somehow to work through the artistic practice, but also connected somehow to the context and community. Although the community concept is very...
Could you give us a brief the summary of the exhibition in Barcelona?
Yeah.
How did it...
sorry. Go.
How did it turn out?
At the end, we decided to have like a small information point. Somehow we called it information point. It wasn't like that. It was also an exhibition, but it was because the space was very small. So we gathered all the projects there as a very informative way. And then because for us it was very important to give the context, to talk about all the process, because I think this project is very important to know the process, not only the result, because of all the changes that we lived. So we had this space like a center venue, but then we decided also to have different venues where we could install more properly the art projects. So each of them, not the 10 art projects were impossible to bring, like to install properly, but the 5 ones that they had to do the residency in Barcelona, they have different places. So in that way, I think each of art projects had their own space and their own moment to show their process also. And then I think it helped the 3 days that we had there for activities, that also somehow it was like something like an example of what they did or how they develop these projects. So very briefly. Yeah.
Thank you, Irati. Next person, I would like to go to Remy from Deer Hunter. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your involvement in the project.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
I already explained, like we do make maps in a specific way by being local, by anthropological methods, by being in the field. I will talk about what exactly we then did in this project, because it sounds a little bit awkward maybe. But before that, I would like to emphasize again on what this project is about, what the aim was. And I think if you visualize a triangle with public space, with society, with inhabitants and with art, I think the project really is in the middle. Yeah. And I think all these 3 aspects, they somehow were planned to influence each other. So art is being influenced by a neighborhood, and again, the art contributing to the well-being of the inhabitants and also maybe to changes within the neighborhood. Yeah. And I think from realizing that, normally we, as Deer Hunter, we are commissioned by cities, universities sometimes, or provinces or whatever, that normally directly impact the neighborhood. So we do a research, we make a map, and this map influences, let's say, the urban planning process. So you could say we add a layer to urban planning processes from, let's say, information from bottom up, from in between being local and mapping daily life and routines, and thus impacting urban planning processes. Well, over here we're not talking about urban planning, but about, let's say, a societal art project. Yeah. So we thought, okay, for whom are we working, or are we mapping, and how can we contribute? So I think from the beginning we put this in perspective, that we wanted to inform the artists. That I think is one important point. Artists that are, well, we're meant to do a residency on location. We would take them through the neighborhood and inform them from, let's say, bottom up, from at least 2 months that we would have already been in the neighborhood, been as locals, and in that way have a good grip on the neighborhood itself, so that the artists could contribute from that knowledge, could literally use our map for navigating, but also for getting quite some knowledge out of it. That was in theory, and of course practice turned out a little bit different. We were mapping, and we were active in the neighborhood in Roeselare, the first of 2, and then we just had to leave the country because we weren't allowed anymore somehow. Yeah. We left our shipping container that we use as a tiny house to literally live on location. And we thought we will be back in a couple of weeks.
So your role was actually to map the cities before the art. So the original plan was that the hunter would be in these areas in the cities and map it during to their methodology, and then the artist would come as a residence to then take on. Yeah,
both be informed by our map and also, of course, by the location itself through the residency. So we would give over, let's say, the neighborhood and our knowledge of the neighborhood to the artists to work with it. Yeah. But on the other hand, also inform the project partners about the specific 2 neighborhoods in Barcelona and in Roeselare.
Yeah. But that changed due to...
It changed a little bit, and of course, I mean, we have been able to go to Barcelona, although it was in a kind of lockdown situation, so it was a total different world, and we are also asking ourselves questions like, what are we doing over here? A Dutch and a Belgian person walking through Barcelona, trying to be a resident right now, but what is actually normal in this time? So we try to invert our way of working a little bit by not trying to stick to the initial idea of making a map that would inform the artist. Well, still it did, but also trying to make a map that showed our perspective on this situation, on this neighborhood, and that literally invites other people to work with it and also to to make it their own or to use it in a way.
Was it a big difference to work in Barcelona and Roeselare?
It is, of course, yeah. In Roeselare, they already say it is a big difference to work on the other side of the train station.
Oh, yeah.
So you can imagine that with a couple of thousand kilometers in between, it is a different situation. Although, well, historically, these two neighborhoods, they share some same industrial past.
Yeah.
They share somehow...
It was a specific area also to mention in Barcelona called Sant Andreu, where we were based in.
Yeah, Sant Andreu, and well, still some industrial area in Barcelona, and Kroese, which has already been mentioned, also quite industrial part of the city of Roeselare.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Remy. And now I would like to continue with Cumhur.
Thank you. I want to start with three things. First, who we are, and second, what we intended for this project. And third, what we end up doing. And I would like to postpone the lessons learned to the general discussion that we can do together. So I'm working at the Aalborg University in Copenhagen, and our team is called Multisensory Experience Lab. We're about 20 people in the team, one full professor, Stefania Serafin, two associate professors, me and Rolf Nordahl. Oh, no, three, and Niels. So this is the scientific stuff, actually. And our day job is scientific dissemination. So we work with virtual reality, augmented reality, and all these new technologies, and we make applied perception experiments. So, but besides that, we're also leading Nordic Sound and Music Computing Network. KTH from Sweden is our partner, and maybe you work with them. They also work with art institutions, conservatories, and all the creative industries together to make very, very impactful, high technology, but artistically grounded pieces. That's our job as well. And we would like to open up our laboratories, invite artists in, and work with them in particular technologies. So we managed to do that several times and with several impacts, not only us, but also the general Nordic network, also in European projects. In 2006, we went to Coast headquarters in Belgium, and we organized a reactable concert. It's a shared musical instruments. Björk was using that year. It was a high impact to make it an AU headquarters. And one of our last pieces, virtual reality, got a special award in Cannes. So we are building this thing, and that was our initial idea about this project too. So last two turns, we also involved in Creative Europe projects, and the previous project, a Co-op 2, a bigger project, we offered an exhibition, and when the project idea came, you and Alice, for the first time, we go like, okay, this is an exhibition too. There are some art making. I think we can support this. The best way we can do is take the artists in to the laboratory. We worked together on the selected technology, and technology was the augmented reality initially. I'm not sure if you're familiar with augmented reality, but it, unlike virtual reality, which synthesizes a completely digital environment, it takes the existing environment and puts additional object in the sound as if it's perceived in this. So we would create creatures, or we would create some artifacts, some things that they move and sound. So that was the idea that we said, okay, let's go into that project, let's develop augmented reality, and let's exhibit the resulting products with the 3D sound in the digital environment. It's a perfect fit for us.
I also have to add that I think that strengthened the project, because you weren't part of it from the beginning, but when we got you as a partner, I think that was a real important for us.
Yeah, at least intentionally.
Yeah.
But what we end up doing is, because of COVID, all the travels need to be compromised. And we tried several ways, online way of forming some kind of workshops, but actually they didn't work as planned, as we would be together and make some kind of a co-creation workshop for a week. That was a compromise. But then what happened was we started to learn the diversity, the originality of the incoming projects. We started to think that, okay, we could contribute some things, but the pieces are very original and very interesting. So then we flipped the coin a bit and started to think, okay, so why don't we understand how these projects are evolving and how they are realizing? And we follow this, and then we try to do some other contribution. Sacrificing a bit augmented reality idea, but for example, putting for the digital exhibition the developer tools we use for source code writing, putting a web page like that enables a lot of technologies together, and the artists themselves can maintain their projects after the project lifespan as well. So then we organized a bit towards this direction, maybe a bit downsized our initial technical idea, but then try to, again, do something together with the artists that we can, at the end, have a durable product, and we can even co-develop it for the future projects as well. Yeah. That products have still some kind of Easter eggs, so they have some augmented reality and everything, but we don't have to know about that. Yeah. We can demonstrate later on. Nice. So basically, we're a technical university which is interested in artistic creation, co-creation, and we had a very good idea about starting off the project. We developed this outside of the project a bit as well, so I don't think we didn't manage to do something. We learned quite a lot of that, but we learned different ways of communicating, different ways of developing, and in also collaboration with Remy and his mapping tools, and community building was a new idea for us. Then we started to learn and think a bit how we can contribute, like Gino said, in the other phases, in the future projects better with that.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we're going to head out to maybe the most important people of the project, or the artists, Luke and Anne. And as we said before, it was a total of 10 artists in the project, right? Irati, you have to correct me. But Luke and Anne, you have you're the one representing all of them, you can say. Where's yours?
So it's been really interesting hearing about all the the motivations and intentions that go into the project around community building and new audiences. And so I guess, our context we can provide is actually just our project that we planned and the actual project we undertook. So we'll just briefly explain about that. And feel free to butt in at any time if you want to ask a question. But so we proposed a project for Barcelona, for Sant Andreu, and that was called News from Home. And that's an ongoing documentary project of ours. And so this was for the 8th edition of that project. And News from Home is really about capturing community stories, but we're really interested in these omitted and overlooked, and like Remy was saying before, this kind of bottom-up type stories, more individual. And so really central for this project is the postcard, just the everyday postcard that everyone's familiar with. And that's what we proposed back in, I think, December, maybe 2019, was to create some sound postcards or audio postcards for this project. So with News from Home, we're really interested in how the project is this everyday object and everyone knows about it, but it's often this really kitsch or surface kind of relationship you have with it, where there's this icon on the front and on the back you might say the weather was good today and you send it off. But we were really interested in how a postcard can actually be really personal, and it's so visual and it's so it can connect so easily with a broad audience. So we were thinking, how can we actually create a project around the postcard? So that's what we proposed for Sant Andreu.
Yeah, our working approach has like three different aspects. We have the research aspect where we read a lot. Then we have the observation aspect, so we actually walk a lot around the neighborhoods. That's what we did for 20 days in San Andreu. And we were actually seeing where are the borders of San Andreu, and let's explore everything in between, like in San Andreu. And then with that observation, we go back to the research. So what was interesting, what did we see, and then we actually research that more. And then the third part, a really important one, is actually to talk with the community, to actually have just meetings and spontaneous meetings and talks. But because of COVID, that became a bit harder. So we had to find like other ways, because we also wanted to take our responsibility and we wanted to do it safe. So there is there is still an active Facebook group in San Andreu where people share a lot of information and a lot of things what's happening in the neighborhoods. And there we asked the question, like, what is your sound memories? What kind of memories do you have that are related to sound? And then with the help of Anna from Idensitat, we were able to actually, really discover like more ideas. We came up with more ideas. And that we're all like bringing these all aspects together, became the basis for our sound works.
Yeah, so we spent 20 days in Sant Andreu and just got a bunch of information and ideas. So yeah, really subjective things, some more research, some opinions. And then we sort of locked it away for a little bit and had a few months doing other projects. And then we came back to it this year to finish something for the exhibition. And what we came up with, we were drawn to 5 stories that we found from the neighborhood, and then we made some postcards. And this is the postcards here. And so the sound aspect, of course, is important, and this is really visual. So on the front, there is just one object, and then on the back, there's a QR code that you scan, and then there's a soundscape that we created. And so each postcard tells a different story from Sant Andreu, and then it gives you a little bit of a taste of what that story is about, and then it's really encouraging you to scan the QR code and hear the soundscape and find out more about Sant Andreu from different perspectives.
Yeah, very nice. And you also sent out a couple of postcards, right?
Yeah, we did a postcard exchange. We find it important that also other people get to know Sant Andreu, these different stories and this community. So we actually sent it out to 25 different countries and almost 100 postcards. These people signed up on social media to actually receive one. And there are already a few people that got one.
Very nice. Thank you so much. And thank you all for giving some insights in this kind of complicated big project. When you think about it, that 2.5 years of working, there's a lot of different perspectives to it and a lot of people involved. But now we have 50 to 10 minutes just to like wrap it up and together discuss a little bit of the topics we have presented. And one question I was thinking about was, of course, the pandemic and COVID-19 was a big impact on all of us because we were working with public urban art. But besides that, or maybe also that, I was wondering if you think that the project turned out the way that you thought it would be. If we go back, almost 2.5 years, almost 5 years then from me and Laurent. but yeah, so maybe we could start with Gino, project leader. Did it turn out the way you thought it would turn out?
That's a big discussion. Would it be another way if we would if we could do it as we tried to do it? But I think if I look to this project, I think we can learn some lessons. The first thing is that normal spatial planning is built on 2 dimensions. And I think that sound gives a 3rd dimension that's too less known. So, and we saw it throughout the workshops of John, that when you find some typical sounds, or you found some silence, it is very important that we, in the upcoming years, we can listen to a neighborhood. I think also for me, it was very amazing how the artists have all a different approach on the way that they have to do some things. So, and I think many of the artists have also had an impact afterwards. Yeah? If I go back to John with his workshops, there are still some workshops going on. We have the mapping of Deer Hunter. It will be for us in the city of Roeselare a basis of the future planning, how we can build on that. If I look the way that Anne and Luke worked with their postcards, they spread the word throughout the world. And it was for me very amazing to write some words to people that I didn't know, to send a card to the Netherlands and to send a card to the other way of the other side of the world. So for me, I think the way that they look to this, the same that Marty did, he brought some sunflower seeds from Barcelona, and people who attended the exhibition could plant those seeds in their gardens. So there will be a reminiscence of this project next year when those seeds come up. The same is what Marta did in the brewery. We can use all that sound that she created afterwards when we worked on the cultural heritage of this brewery. So I think the importance of this project is for me what we can do afterwards. And I think we have now a solid basis for the future to work in this way for the development of other neighborhoods in Roeselare too. Mm. So for me, it was a very good, and I would like to have another project in that kind next period of Creative Europe. So for me, it was a very nice.
Another 3 years in front of us.
Yes, but without 3 years preparation, I think.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Laurent. Would you like to add about your expectations and how it turned out?
Yeah, for me, there are some things that are very important. First, the collaboration in the project. That's something that is very important. Because if you don't collaborate, you cannot succeed. And in fact, it's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult because we have in each country different habits, different kind of looking at things, and that makes it very essential. And that way, it was very interesting to work together with all these partners, and of course with all these artists. So for me, it was a very good experience. Second thing I want to say is for the neighborhoods. Sant Andreu as curator. So we managed to put the neighborhoods on the map, on the international map. Yeah. And I think these neighborhoods, I think that this is important. When I see the exhibition in Barcelona and the exhibition in Roeselare, people were interested to come. For example, in Roeselare, we had 600 visitors. We had from all categories. We had schools. We had the art academy. We had a lot of people from the neighborhood. So it was very interesting to meet the people and to see how they were involved in what was happening there. It's not simple for people when you do something with art, and it is a kind of it's not easy to go there. But we asked the local pub to come into the exposition room. So when we talk about artist residencies, we had a pub residency in the exposition room. So that made that all the people who go for a drink in the evening, they had to go to the exposition. So
I also heard that Roeselare has the best beer.
Yes, of course.
The world.
The best beer of the world is from Roeselare.
So next time you go to Belgium, don't go to Brussels or Antwerp.
No, you have to go to Roeselare and you have to taste Rodenbach. Normally, I had a deal with the brewery. They asked me to put a T-shirt from Rodenbach and for the audience, but I forgot it. So, but it was important, and you can see that people are interested in these things, and they are it was important to find a method to connect the people with the works of the artists and the works, of course, of the partners.
Thank you, Irati. Do you have some thoughts about how it turned out and what your expectations were?
Yeah. I agree with both of you, Gino and Laurent. I think, in this kind of projects, you never know how it's going to be, because you have a project at the beginning, but then, the process is different, and it's everything different. But I have to say that I think we learned a lot from each other because of the collaboration, but also from the artists, because we due to this COVID situation, we also decided to have a lot of meetings, online meetings. So I think these gatherings also were very enriching, because they were also during these discussions about the changes. They suffered the changes actually. So I think not only in terms of the result, also the methodologies that we had to change a little bit, like the residencies, for instance. I think from there also we can learn a lot, like how to do it, like how to do the residency also remotely some way. Like maybe it's not perfect, but it has some ideas also around this. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I guess we go in the same order as before. So I leave the word for Remy. Do you have any?
I expected it already.
Yeah?
Thank you.
You're prepared.
Yeah, I had some time to think about it.
Yeah.
But I would like to add on to what Irati just said, this idea of remote residencies. For us, you could say we plan to do residencies in the cities and really be dependent on these two neighborhoods, really living there for a couple of months. Of course, that turned out to be totally different. Still, we were able to do it in another way. But we managed, I think, and I think seeing how the maps have been received and how we also worked with students in Barcelona, for example, with the map of Barcelona we created at that time, still under construction then. But also how Gino just explained how the map of Rotterdam will be used within the future developments. I think that shows that we still, we're able to touch somehow the essence or the intrinsic qualities of the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But for us, I think one of the most interesting elements was how can we inform people of a neighborhood that are not able to travel to that neighborhood. And within the process, we also tried, okay, let's do digital workshops and let's do digital residencies and see how we can take people literally by using Street View, by also using the map and by all these things that we know are familiar with, like sharing screen. That was new at the time. Yeah. We could take people along through our experience, but also through these neighborhoods, and we could talk about the neighborhood while virtually traveling through it. And that learned us a lot, I think, that we still are embedding within our own practice and our own teaching practice also. So that was very valuable, I think, not only for us, but also, I think, for the artists. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. And Cumhur, would you like to continue?
Okay. Am I on?
You have to, yeah.
I speak out when it's warming up. Yeah.
Do you work it out? Yeah.
It will. Yeah, now it came.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the overarching goal of the project, sound art, relation to the communities, I think they're well established. And for our part, augmented reality didn't work, so what? It would work in a different thing. For virtual reality, it took 4 turns or something, so we can make this work. I'm not too much concerned about that. But now I'm thinking about something. I'm going to refer to particular pieces, but there's audience here or audience online. Do they know the pieces? I don't know. Should we just make a little session after the thing to demonstrate the pieces? I don't know. But I learned quite a lot from the pieces themselves.
Yeah.
And One of the interesting things, maybe for me most interesting, was what Luke and Anna used, the QR codes. And COVID worked very positively in that aspect. I just want to ask who before COVID was using QR codes to scan the things. Maybe a few people. Now it's common practice. And we learned how it can be an enabling mechanism, but we also learned how it can be extraordinarily dangerous, because there's so much data there, reveals so much things. We could tell Irati in Barcelona there are this amount of clicks in that neighborhood. Please put the posters in this neighborhood. That, I mean, we didn't know anything about that. I didn't know when we started the project. So this was a very interesting learning experience. Yeah. Overall, I'm very happy.
That's good to hear. I think we all are. Thank you. And Luke and Anne, you as an artist, of course, it changes your way, like with the residents and everything. But otherwise, did it turn out the way you thought it would be?
Yeah. I think just reflecting on it, the biggest change for us was that our residency was during this time when I think Deer Hunter was there as well, where there was this lockdown on it, 10 o'clock or 9:30, and it really changed our perspective on how we approach our project, and we started thinking about the title of this project, Sounds of Our Cities. And we thought, you know, whose city is it? Because often at night we were locked. We're not locked, but we were inside because of the curfew, and all the animals were out in the city. They could do what they want, and if you had a dog, you could go and walk your dog. And so the animals actually had a lot more freedom than us. And so we're thinking, yeah, whose city is this? And I think that came across in our work, that we included some other than human perspectives in there, from an orange tree and also, a pigeon. And so I think that was a big change for us, that we thought of cities as a more complex system. Yeah.
The city, when it was it pigeons or who was?
Yeah, I think the pigeons were having a fair old time, and
the dogs, a party. Yeah,
the dogs and their owners as well were having a good time. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And we're actually running out of time now, so we have to wrap it up. But as you can hear, it's been a big project, and it's been some really nice couple of years. And now we're going to wrap it up with this final analysis, which is always a nice part of doing an EU project. And yes, for the audience, of course, you can find more information on our Instagram and on our Facebook page, where you can also find more information, interviews with the artists and all the partners that are involved in the project. And hopefully, as Gino pointed out, and as Olivia said, maybe we will meet here again in another 3 years. And as I said, usually the second one can be better sometimes. You never know. Okay, thank you. And and of course, stay with us, because the next talk will be about the importance of international cooperation in art project, or if it is important. And then we have a third talk about urban art later on. So stay with us. Thank you. Bye.